Supertim Snap. Dune. You want worms? We got worms. Fat worms, long worms. Well, actually only really big worms. Dune has finally come out. After being delayed numerous times from COVID, we finally have sweet release. After multiple attempts at adapting the sci-fi book to movie and TV shows, we might actually be onto something, though with significantly less pugs. Now, there are a few things people need to know about this movie before we get into it. This movie only adapts 2/4 of the first book, and as such is not a complete story in itself. This film really leans into it being the beginning of a larger film series. I've been hearing that Dune is the new Star Wars of movies, which isn't really right. Star Wars is all action-adventure and lovable characters. However, I'd say Dune is more political drama and intrigue on space politics. It's a wonderfully boring change of pace, and really lends itself to that. The movie does add more action than the books, granted, but it leads with a lot more tension building, and the characters are made more personable than in the book. The reason I bring up the books is that the challenge on bringing it to the big screen is the intense world building this or any movie to be adapted to cinema. And as such, the first half of the movie has a lot of exposition, just to ensure that the audience is aware of what is happening, who the key players are, and why they're doing it. Exposition can be really boring in a film, but I felt that it's done really well at explaining things and creates this huge real world with meaningful characters and motives. The world is really dense and detailed, and even within the book they cram a lot of information up front to you. But it's really kind of necessary to understand what's actually going on as the film progresses, and to enjoy the story completely. But in saying that, I can understand why some people might get impatient or kind of bored with the first half. But for me, it was really interesting and built it up so well, so I could just understand what was happening and why it was happening. They use a lot of creative ways to info dump on you without it being monologue on top of monologue. Honestly, it was the second half that kind of bored me, because it's more focused on the struggled adventure, and there doesn't feel to be a lot happening other than watching the characters get from point A to point B. But my partner loved that part, so what do I know? The film gives a lot of time to ensure the audience is given all the info they need to know. The film builds slowly so as to build tension, and that there is something on the horizon for these characters. Which leads me into the music and sound design, building into this atmosphere. For one, Paul's Bene Gesserit powers are accentuated with unearthly sounds and guttural voices, and really punch home the powers are something to be feared of, and not just kind of a silly gimmick. The visuals just floor you as well. Perfect cutaways, gorgeous sand planet, incredible spacecrafts. All the architecture and tech matches perfectly with the environment, the people and their culture. It's just so enjoyable to see such incredible graphics. I really feel this film should be watched at cinema to enjoy its full spectacle visuals and audio. I'd be really surprised if it doesn't win some type of award, honestly. All the performances of the actors feel on point. Everyone is giving it their all for the characters, and it feels really genuine. The books are rather old-timey, so the writers had to give a more modern interpretation, but luckily it comes across as really natural. Paul is a cold and calculating character, and Timothée Chalamet knocks it on the head and delivers exactly that. Jason Momoa is a great character, and he plays himself, really. He's just all-round Jason Momoa fun guy. My minor criticisms come from kind of both the books and film, really, and that's just how it's written. You don't get a really good look at the Imperials, and you don't get to understand their motives for quite a while. Baron Harkonnen is in the film a lot, but he doesn't give a lot up of his personality or drive other than him being conniving and mean, so I would have liked them to flesh his intelligence out a lot more. It's also hard not to bring up Dr. Uway's character. He plays a really pivotal role starting off the whole troubles for the characters, but he's given such a tiny amount of screen time, and you don't know anything until the end. There's barely any comment on his motivations, or like in the first film, he talks about his wife, and it kind of diminishes things for me. But anyway, it's hard to fully review the whole story because the film's only the first half, but as of recording this video, it's been confirmed by Legendary Entertainment that there will be another. So, we have that to look forward to. I know that the director had the sole goal to create a worthy adaptation of the book, and I would say that he certainly succeeds. Like The Lord of the Rings, I think this will be a book-to-movie adaptation that goes proudly on your shelf. For me, I give this film a 9 out of 10.